Hey everyone, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be reacting to the third episode of Death Note Dealings. Now, I love the second episode. It's really going in a direction I was not expecting, so I'm really excited to keep watching the series, even though it's only one season, which I was like, no, because I hate when things are like ending so quickly, because it's going to go by fast. I can just see it now. But let's just get into this third episode, and then I'll talk a little bit after.
Greetings to all of you at the ICPL. I am L. Whether the guilty party is an individual or a group, there's a strong possibility that they're Japanese.
Kira, I've got a pretty good idea what your motivation might be, and I can guess what you hope to achieve. However, what you're doing right now is evil.
You bastard.
Try to kill me.
I am justice.
I
protect the innocent and those who fear evil. I'm the one who become the god of a new world that everyone desires. Kira, I will hunt you down wherever you're hiding, and I will eliminate you. I am justice.
Man, that was insane when they did that yesterday.
All right, let's start with the tip line reports.
Yes, sir. Up to this point, we've received 3,029 responses about the murders via telephone and email. Most of these have been curious citizens and prank calls, but there are 14 people who claim to either know Kira or who have seen him. All 14 accounts were followed up on and carefully documented. However, nobody could provide any information that wasn't already publicly available. And lastly, this week there were an additional 21 people who called in claiming to be Kira. We didn't want to rule anything out, so we followed standard procedure and created files for all 21 of them.
All right, on to the victim reports.
Yes, sir. Upon further investigation, we have confirmed that information of the heart attack victims was in fact publicly available in Japan immediately prior to their deaths. Also, concerning L's request that we investigate the time of death for each victim, we found that all of them occurred between the hours of 4 p.m. and 2 a.m. on weekdays, local time, with 68% of them occurring between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. Weekends and holidays appear to be the exception to this rule, as the times of death vary much more widely than during the week.
That information is extremely relevant for us. It suggests that given the times of death, our suspect could very well be a student.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that Kira's only killing criminals, I think it's safe to assume that he's driven by a very idealistic notion of justice. It's highly possible he may even aspire to be some sort of godlike figure. We're dealing with an individual who has a very childish concept of right and wrong. Of course, this is mere speculation at this point, but still I recommend you re-examine any assumptions you've made as to whether or not our suspect could be a student. We must consider every possibility. I believe that is the shortest route to finding and arresting Kira. Please continue with your report.
Oh, right. Does anyone else have something they'd like to add?
Yes, sir.
What is it, Matsuda?
Well, I'm not saying this to support Kira or to condone the murders, but in the last few days throughout the world, but especially here in Japan, we've observed a dramatic decrease in the number of violent crimes committed.
Well, I suppose it makes sense. We've suspected something like that would happen. Anything else?
No.
Well, that about sums up our report for today. L?
Thank you, everyone. I feel we're one step closer to finding Kira. Before I go, I'm afraid I have one additional request to make. This is directed to the teams investigating the victims, TV news, and internet. I would like you to go back and take a closer look at the exact way in which the victims' identities were made public. Be as thorough as possible.
In particular, I want to know if photos of the victims were made available to the public in Japan.
I'll leave it to you.
Chief,
Man, this is getting intense.
you look like you could use one of these.
For real.
Sleeping much?
Ah, thank you. That'll do the trick. I feel all these late nights are starting to take their toll.
About what I said earlier at our meeting. Well, now that I think about it, I'm sure everyone already knew that. I wanted to apologize.
What on earth are you talking about? Nobody said it would be easy to speak the truth, but it has to be done, especially when it's something that isn't easy to say. Having said that, if you'd gone on to say that we should commend Kira for doing such a great job of reducing violent crime, then yes, I might have had a little problem with that.
Oh no, no, I wouldn't. That would never happen.
I'm just kidding.
I knew I could count on you, Light.
Hey, so do you think you're ready to try a few on your own now?
Huh? Yeah, I guess so.
Man, look at that guy. He's just like, taking my picture.
Sounds like Dad's home.
Welcome home, dear.
Thank you.
He's home really early today.
Hey!
Are you kidding me?
Why don't you at least try the last problem by yourself?
I will, but maybe after dinner.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
helping your sister with her homework. You sure are relaxed.
Of course. If the police try to come after me, I'm pretty confident I've got something that'll give me the advantage. Hey, glad you could join us for dinner. You hungry, Dad?
Yeah, it's been a long day.
Oh, crap. Damn. Okay. Damn. Why is he...
So, Light, tell me, how are your studies going?
Everything's okay, I guess.
Whatever. He's at the top of his class. My big brother's a genius.
That's my son. We're all proud of you, Light.
Is everything okay, Dad? You look tired.
Yeah, I'm not able to say too much about it, but this case I'm working on now is really tough.
I see. Well, Daddy's a policeman. And that must be the reason why you're so confident.
That's right. It's easy for me to hack into Dad's computer. We're on a home network, so I can copy the files I need without leaving a trace. This way I can keep track of their investigation.
Damn.
Here we go. Well, isn't that interesting? Looks like the police are already beginning to suspect a student.
I guess that means you're in trouble.
If the cause of death is written within 40 seconds of writing the person's name, it will happen. If the cause of death is not specified, the person will simply die of a heart attack. After writing the cause of death, details of the death should be written in the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds. That sound right to you, Duke?
So what's your point?
In other words, if I write heart attack as the cause of death, then I should be able to write down all the details, including time of death afterwards, shouldn't I? Looks like I'll be able to provide you with more entertainment now.
Entertainment. I'm really sorry about this guy outside.
Inmate 148, what's wrong? Snap out of it!
What? I don't believe this. Another 23 victims yesterday? Are these confirmed?
Yes.
The day before, there were another 23 victims. He's killing one off every hour on the hour.
Considering that this new pattern has been going on for 2 weekdays...
It does punch some holes in the theory that our suspect is a student.
Maybe not. Anybody can skip 2 days of school.
You're missing the point. It does appear less likely now that Kira is a student. But that's not the message he's sending by doing this. Ask yourselves, why every hour? And why are all these victims in prisons where they are sure to be discovered immediately? Why not other criminals like before? I believe Kira is telling us that not only can he kill from a distance, but he can also determine the time of death.
But something's not right. As soon as we began to suspect that Kira might be a student, the pacing of the killings changed, as if to contradict that theory. Coincidence? No. Too convenient. This can only mean that Kira has access to police information. It's obvious now. This is a direct challenge to me.
I'd say Elle is probably starting to sweat a little by now. What'll really make his job difficult is that I've deliberately left about 50 criminals alive for times like this.
Oh?
If L's as good as they say, by now he should be starting to suspect someone with connections to the police.
So Kira has found a way to obtain information from the task force headquarters. This is one fact that cannot be ignored. But what does he get out of all this? What is he hoping to achieve in the end?
There's one thing I don't get. Showing them you have connections to the police makes it easier for them to find you than when they just suspected you were a student.
Well, my real agenda is to get close to L so I can eliminate him.
How are you gonna do that?
You still don't understand human beings. In this world, there are very few people who actually trust each other. And it's no different for the police, you know. What's especially important is that L and the investigators don't trust each other at all. Think about it. Could you trust someone whose name and face you don't even know? When L discovers that I'm somehow getting confidential information, he'll be obligated to start investigating the police to find the source of the leak. When that happens, it'll only be a matter of time before the police start resenting L. On the surface, it will appear that L and the investigation team are working together to try to catch me. But in reality, L will investigate the police, and they will be investigating L. I'm not the one who's going to find L. I can let the police do that for me. And when they do, that's when I'll eliminate him.
Damn. This is getting... He is like... This is a smart
What's this
guy.
about?
With all due respect, Chief, we're resigning. We demand that you assign us to a different case. Otherwise, you can have our badges right here and now.
Why? You're good cops.
Isn't it clear? It's because we value our lives, sir.
If what L says is true, Kira has some ESP-like power that somehow allows him to kill people indirectly, from anywhere.
Well, if I were Kira, sir, I'd probably want to try and get rid of the people who were trying to catch me.
Let's face it, he knows he'll be sentenced to death if he's caught.
We all sat here and watched when L decided to pull that media stunt and challenge Kira to kill him. Well, it was all very impressive at the time. But then again, L never had to show his face or reveal his name, for that matter. I'm sure you recall L's last request. He asked that we take a closer look at how these victims' identities were made public, and specifically to determine whether photos of the victims were available to the public prior to their deaths. Well, it turns out he was right. Every single one of those victims' names and photos were broadcast to the Japanese public, and then they died. Unlike someone we know, we're out there investigating this case wearing police IDs with our names and photos on them. Anybody with a computer can find out who we are. We don't hide our faces, we're out in the open.
Sir, the truth is we could be killed by Kira at any time.
For these reasons, we refuse to continue working this case. Excuse us, Chief.
Hey, stop! All of you! Hold it right there!
In order to solve this problem, we must establish the concept that x
This
squared
other guy has one
equals
computer in a
large
random
Now
basement.
pay attention because this is important. Before we tackle more complex quadratic equations, we have to start thinking of large x's value as simply the multiple of two integers. Now,
Just walking through the class.
We brought the FBI to Japan 4 days ago. They're fully operational. As requested, they're now gathering intel on the police.
And this is the complete list?
Yes.
There are 141 people in the police force who have access to classified information regarding the investigation. I am sure that somewhere in this list of police officers and the people closest to them, we will find our suspect.
Light, you got a second?
I already told you you can't talk to me in public. How many times do I have to tell you?
In that case, I'll talk, you just listen. If you don't want to hear me, you can plug your ears or something. First of all, I don't have anything against you. I actually think the notebook couldn't have been picked up by a better person. I'm here because I have to stick around till the death note is finished, or I see you die, whichever comes first. But make no mistake, Light, I'm not on your side or L's side.
Yeah, well, I knew that much already.
You'll never hear me say anything about whether what you're doing is right or wrong. I'm not here to support you or give you my opinion. I'm just a spectator. But as your roommate, I might have a few things to say now and then.
What's this about, Ryuk? Why are you telling me all this stuff now anyway? It's really not like you.
It's just that I'm no ally of yours, or Kira's if you prefer. The only reason I'm gonna tell you this is because personally it's starting to creep me out.
Get to the point already.
You're being followed by another human. He's watching you right now.
Creeping him out.
It's really starting to get on my nerves. I realize there's no way he can see me. But because I'm always following behind you wherever you go, I feel like I'm constantly being watched.
That's a problem. I'll have to get rid of him as soon as possible. Who would be following me? Does this mean Elle is already starting to suspect the police? If he's gonna investigate the police, he'll need a lot of resources and manpower. Even if he has as many as 50 people on the case, I don't see how they could ever figure out that I'm Kira. I shouldn't look like anything other than your average high school senior. But the longer I let this person keep following me, the greater the chances they'll figure out who I really am. Above all, I need my stalker's name. Once I figure that out, I can get rid of him for good.
Light. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. What makes a Shinigami and a human who has a death note different? Well, there are two things. And why do Shinigami have to write the names of humans in their death notes? You got any ideas?
Of course not. Why would I know that? You know, you sure are talkative today.
It's because we are able to take human lifespans for ourselves.
Huh? Wait, what do you mean by that?
Let's say you have a human who is due to live until the age of 60, and a god of death wrote that this person would die at 40. 60 minus 40 equals 20. Now those 20 years taken from someone in the human world are added to that god of death's life. So it means that as long as we don't slack off, even if someone was to shoot us in the head, or stab us in the heart with a knife, a god of death cannot die. On the other hand, no matter how many names you write in your death note, your lifespan will not increase. That is the first difference between gods of death and humans who possess a death note.
That's something about Shinigami that I haven't heard before. Pretty interesting stuff.
The second difference between us will probably be of even greater interest to you. Though this has less to do with lengthening life and more to do with cutting it short.
What do you mean cutting it short?
Shinigami can tell what a person's name is by just looking at their face. We know instantly. And do you have any idea why? Because through a Shinigami's eyes, a human's name can be seen above their head. Not only that, we see their lifespan as well.
Their name and lifespan?
That's right. I'm able to see your name and lifespan right now. If I converted that to human time, I could tell you how many years you've got left, but there's no way I'd ever tell you that. I may have a big mouth, but even I wouldn't go that far. Shinigami never have to worry that they won't be able to kill a person just because they don't know their name. And every time we do take a life, we always know exactly how many years we're going to receive. Our eyes just aren't the same, and that is the difference between you and I. However, if a Shinigami drops his death note and a human picks it up, he can grant that human the eyes of a Shinigami. But only if a deal is made, one that's been with us since ancient times.
And what's the deal?
The price for having a Shinigami's eyes is half of that person's remaining lifespan. That's all it is.
Half of my remaining lifespan?
Yeah. In other words, if you were supposed to live another 50 years, it'll be 25. If it was one more year, then 6 months.
I see. And since you've made it clear you're not on anyone's side, and won't help me out, you wouldn't just give me the names of people I wanted to kill. Basically, you're saying that I can't simply borrow your powers. I'd have to pay for them.
That's right. It's a key part of the code that all Shinigami are bound by. I'll say this once more. Give me half your remaining lifespan, and I'll give you the Shinigami eyes.
If I agree, I'll be able to know everyone's name just by looking at them. If I had that power, the Death Note would only be easier to use.
So, what'll it be, Light? Is it a deal?
Do you want to live longer though, or are you just gonna die? Guys, that was a very good third episode. I really was not expecting it again to go where it went, and I was like, damn, this is really good. Like, the story is compelling. You want the protagonist to not get found out, but at the same time he's killing people, so you want to see if the cops are gonna find him, and it's just like, that's when you know you have a good show. I like the characters, even though the demon guy is really pretty creepy and would not want him behind me all the time. But anyway, yeah guys, I'll upload the 4th episode either tonight or early morning, and hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. See ya.